After a couple of repairs on the A pillar and after removing the inner wing reinforcing panel, I could move on now to a couple of bits I want to do, which is between the bottom of the scuttle panel, the rear of the wheel arch, and the inner wing. It's a complicated spot with three bits meeting, and I want to get rid of that hole that somebody has drilled for extra wiring, probably for a LET conversion. I drilled out the spot welds in a couple of stages. I think 6mm was good enough for the front row. I had to go up to 8 for these ones at the back. I was able to lever them free then, and carefully marked out where I'm going to make my cuts, because there's so many layers coming together here. I had to think about it carefully because there's some bits I didn't want to go through. There's a lip underneath that supports it, and I didn't want to go down through that. Remove the jack handle to get a bit of space to access from under the wing area. So you can see I'm being quite careful with how far through I'm cutting. That bit came off quite easy, and then there's a little bit more at the back. So that's one bit I'm going to have to do. So that's the back of the wheel arch where it ends. I've access then from the right hand side footwell on this car, then on that part of the scuttle panel. Go deep with that one, and then work my way back. So it's easier to make a square out of this than to try and replace the circle, and then just poke it out from the inside. And you'll see now the lip that I was trying to preserve. Use the grinding disc to clean off the edges of a few of those cuts. And the wire wheel to clean the surfaces that are going to be joined, so I get good welding contact. And I'm going to fill up a few of the holes that I drilled through the spot welds, and flatten them down using the flap wheel on the grinder. Then just straightening out this edge, a bit damaged from levering off the cutout. So I'll make a template of that hole. I mean, if you're cutting corners, you could have just put one piece through all here, but I'm reassembling it as it was made, so that it looks right and is strong as it should be. Marking around my template then onto that salvaged piece of steel and cutting it out with the snips. So the two edges then that are going to be together, I'm putting a bit of weld through primer on those, and while they were drying I could make the other template for this bit of the scuttle panel. Bringing that to the panel again, and we'll cut that out. A little bit of a bend needed in that one, and I'm going to mark it then. I'm going to drill it. It'll assemble with spot welds then, which I'll just drill out and fill up. Doing those 6mm. So that's the way that's going to fit in there. So that's repairing the continuation of the A-pillar slash rear wheel arch panel. Drilling out the spot welds on the smaller piece and welding that in now that the primer has had time to dry. Start with a few tacks and then weld it along continuously, and these are the spot welds have been filled up. A few other little bits to join it, and then clean those down with the flap wheel. So I've got a little bit of the next piece now is going to overlap that. Luckily I realised I could get my arm in through the windscreen aperture and in underneath in that footwell, and then just hold it in place with a magnet. A few little adjustments, and then one spot will hold that in place, and then I'll manipulate it so that it all lines up nicely. So a few tacks around that one. Glad to see the end of that hole. It wasn't something that should be there, and you know, wouldn't be right with this car being built for historic rallying. Clean down some of those welds with the flap wheel too. Blend it all in as much as I can. Same underneath, just cleaning that off with the wire wheel, and I'll put some zinc primer over that. Gas to have repairs that you get at from 3 different parts of the car. Paint on here now, above the footwell, and then inside that back corner of the engine bay. So now I've been working up, building in strength into all this area again. I feel confident that I can cut a little bit out of that top lip of the inner wing and do the final repairs in this area before putting back on that A-pillar reinforcing panel.